Hi, everyone. Hi, so I'm going to talk today about Gatsby, which is a React.js static site generator. First, a little bit about me. Co-founder, I'm a technical co-founder at Relate Rocket, Enterprise SaaS, Data Science, GraphQL, Relay, React.js, soon React Native, and we'll be hiring our first engineer soon. So being the first engineer at a startup is something that sounds interesting. Talk to me. Might not be. Probably shouldn't be. Anyways, so Gatsby, where it came from. This is the kind of story of it. So back in 2005, 2006 or so, I got introduced to web development with Drupal, which if you're familiar with Drupal means lots of PHP and lots of clicking around their admin UI. So it can be fun. And then I did that for several years, learned a lot, did some cool stuff. Then 2011 or so, I got into the world of JavaScript web applications, single-page apps with Backbone, and really enjoyed that. I started working at a startup here in the city called Pantheon, and I built out their dashboard. And it was great. I loved it. Then about 2014, beginning of 2014, I quit there and was just kind of looking around, trying to figure out what I wanted to do next. And I was spending a lot of time just exploring like all the new technology that was coming out. And that's when I discovered React.js, as well as React Router, Webpack, the React Hot Loader. At the same time, I was also kind of like really getting into like static websites because I'd spent a lot of time building Drupal stuff, and like Drupal works, but it's heavy, both from like a authoring content. You have to like go into a web UI and do stuff and click around or whatever. And I much prefer the experience of like authoring things in Markdown. But also like deploying a Drupal application, it can be a little bit slow versus a static website. You just deploy a bunch of files, throw Nginx on it, and you can scale to about anything on a very small web server. And so anyways, towards 2014, I'd started working on my startup. And I was getting to the point where we needed like a corporate website, and I was like, oh, like I'm really loving the React. Let me go to the next slide. I'm really loving the React.js ecosystem, but how am I going to do the website? Like I don't want to go back to the all the different static site generators and all the other stuff. I don't want to go back to that. I want to use the same React.js stuff that I'm using for apps for static sites. So about then I had kind of a spark of inspiration. Like, what if I could take a React.js web app and like statically render each page of that web app and then reconstitute that like when you load one of the pages into like the full single page app again, and do that from Markdown files. And I kind of obsessed over this idea. Like I was super busy with startup stuff, so I didn't really go anything, but like I was obsessing over it, and like I still have like many pages of notes that I wrote in like my little notepad. And finally, I got to the point where I was like, okay, I got to do this. And I told my co-founder that I needed to work on the website. And I took a week and built the first version of this. And shockingly, it worked. Like I had Markdown files, and I loaded, they would load, and it was a single-page app, and I was using Webpack, and I was using all the loaders and so forth, and I was really happy. And so that was kind of the genesis of Gatsby, where I took Webpack, React.js, React Router, React Hot Loader, and there's like an npm installable that you install that, and you do start it, and it just kind of all worked. So so a little bit now about like Gatsby works. So Gatsby is basically you pass in Markdown. It does some magic, and out comes a single-page app. And this is kind of what the development experience looks like. Let's see. There we go. So so I have my Vim editor on the left and the browser on the right, and you can see I'm making changes, and it's live loading. And everything on the right on the website is done with React.js components. That's a author components that's taking the email address in the Markdown front matter and turning it into the Kyle Matthews September 2015, et cetera, et cetera. And so the goals of Gatsby is to just feel very natural. That everything you feel normal about a React.js environment, you can do in Gatsby. You can npm install your components, et cetera, and it just works. The UX goal is just be incredibly fast. Like, you want a website that it loads, and you're clicking around, and there's no page transition. It just works. And soon we'll have service workers for client-side caching, full offline support. So yeah, some screenshots of sites that have been built in Gatsby. Running out of time, so I'm going to hurry. Yeah, and so future, I think this is a very fertile area for exploration. Just like sites, all sites span the kind of dynamic to static range, and like pre-rendering the static stuff, I think, is really powerful. So why can't a marketing site, be marketing docked and like the auth-gated app just be one app? It all just kind of works. Last is thank you to everyone who does open source. Like, I benefit enormously from that. And I really believe that like innovation is a choice. Like, all of us, everyone who contributes to open source, you didn't have to do that, but you did, and you made my life better and a lot of other people's life better. So thanks.